So my friend here just was talking about that same thing about giving everything all the meaning it has, and he had a little trick he did when he was a kid, which was to keep repeating the same word, and as he kept repeating it, the shell of meaning and stuff would be dislodged and shook off, and then you would just be in the sound of it. And so basically the sound is the conscious contact. And then there's a shell of interpretation put on it, which is the meaning, the name, and the form. If you get back just to the conscious contact, which is that vibration, that sound, yes, then there's a more sense, or there's a sense of real emptiness, like what the hell is that? Yeah? Because the shaking, the name and form has been shook off. It's pretty interesting, because I did the same thing when I was a kid. You'd say a word and just keep saying it, and after a while it would lose all meaning. As you were saying it, it was just more and more meaning would sort of like fall off, yeah? And if you kept saying it, and then all there would be the sound, and you would see, what the hell is that? Yeah? There's nothing you could make out of that. It was just a sound, yeah? So in a sense, all of us are receiving conscious contact, sound, vibrations of sound, vibrations of light, yeah? Smell, all the sensations, and yet the mental process is put on an interpretive shell over it all, yeah? And so that a whole nother world's made up of name and form, yeah? And then we imbibe and partake in that name and form, and we also take a name and form, and for many of us, it's not that satisfying. It hasn't been that satisfying. And the more exotic names and forms we look at, it still doesn't produce a deep level of satisfaction. It's more like shaking off the interpretation, shaking it off, and wearing it sort of loosely to navigate in this place, but to have your hand on the pulse of the vibration, you know, the consciousness in contact, interpretation laid on the sound. So when he hears that sound, it refers back to an idea. That's a car, or that's a tree, or that's a cat or a dog, yeah? And after a while, most of its fun was when it was feeling the cat and holding the tree. And after a while, a lot of us, as we grow older, we become more into an observing state, yeah? We're not walking up and hugging trees all day. We're not stopping to pet dogs. We're just a dog, cat. And we live a day of like name and form without much contact. Yeah? We just give name, oh, this is Monday, this is going to suck, or whatever. And we basically almost are weaned off of the living and addicted to this interpretation of it, which I find seems to isolate us more and more. And technology is doing it quite well too. People like go into cafes and everyone is on an iPod or something, or an iPhone, where cafes, people used to talk. Now they're all sitting in a room and looking down at something, texting a lot. I'm not saying everyone. And it seems like, yeah, like the interpretive world, the world of name and form is becoming, the shell's getting thicker and thicker in a sense. And what happens is we get more and more isolated, you know. Because the tree it's in the touching of the tree, and then you know, sitting there and really letting its effects soak in, you know. Not just saying, oh, there's a baby, but really watching the baby do its little babiness going around. To me, there's a joy in living that's so, and there's no price tag on it. No one can charge you for it, you know. That's available during our day that they haven't been able to privatize yet, and you know, make it a consumer, a commerce commodity that they can buy and sell, that we can buy and sell. It's still available to all of us, you know. Yeah. You're like that interface. So when people talk about responsibility, I mean, if you take it back, that's a very high responsibility, that you are having a whole lot to do with how things seem to be today. Yeah. Well, yeah, projection precedes perception. Yeah. Well, in most cases, we believe perception is how we find things out here. We perceive them, yeah? And that's our recognition or acknowledgement of something going on. I perceive something. But what they're saying there is mind is projecting the meaning onto things, And then as our role as a dreamt object, when we take ourselves to be the object that's being dreamt, it defines us in a very limiting way. Yeah? So now we're not apt to sense that there's a projection going on. We're basically formatted to perceive things. Yeah? And to take those things real because we're perceiving them. And therefore, by taking them real because of perceiving them, we assume that we're real because we're perceiving them. Yeah? So, in a sense, the dreamt object is quite limited, and its program is to take the dream real. Yeah? That's the whole point. So these eyes don't see nothing; they see things. Yeah. If they're looking up in the sky and there's no clouds in it or anything, the faculty of vision can be very expansive to the mind because it's not seeing anything. Yeah. Maybe it has a sense of a tint called blue, but it's just looking. But in most cases during the day, it's always seeing a thing. It's always alighting upon a thing. Yeah. Just like the mind's eyes always alighting upon things called thoughts. Yeah? So there's always something that becomes an object to it which stops the seeing, and now you're looking at that thing. Yeah. So, what was that question?
The projection.
Oh, the projection. So it's just that, see, if you believe that everything is real and solid as it seems to be appearing to you, yes, then you're real and solid. Yeah. Then you're in that dualistic dance of subject-object. And for some people, it can be very confining and and lacking a lot of juice. Yeah. So their mind is agitated, attempting to find a solution to that situation. There must be more. What's really going on here? So these little pointers in the Course in Miracles are there to shift the perceptual functioning so that you can perceive anew. And in perceiving anew, you realize that the perceptions you thought were real were formatted, yeah? And sort of like a setting on a camera. Yeah? The setting on a camera isn't its original nature. It's set, yeah? It's moved. Something moves it, and now its aperture is open only 30%. And maybe it thinks it doesn't need to have much light, so it's got a real small aperture, and it's not getting much light in. But it thinks it's really seeing everything, yeah? And so then you go ahead living that way, and of course that's going to provoke a lot of, the camera isn't going to take too clear pictures because there's not enough light. But also the camera has a chip to constantly say that, well, I know I'm seeing what's going on. I'm right about all this, yeah? What would happen if you entertained you're not that? Then maybe, just maybe, because the mind is behind it all, the aperture would swing open and more light would be engaged, and then you could see red as red and blue. Yeah, it's things that seem to be that you can only be like speculating about. You would see, hey, this doesn't work, you know. So in a way, the situation here is light in a lot of ways. Yeah, like if we're in this room and it was dark, we'd be set with some problems. Yeah, I couldn't navigate out of this room without probably hitting something and hurting my knee or something. And if I didn't know where the bathroom was, I wouldn't be able to probably find it. And so all these problems ensue based on the darkness. And most of us just hunker down and get knee pads and try to buy maps to where the bathroom once was. Someone says they saw once when the light was on. Instead of just entertaining, is this so? Yeah. If it's not so, then the light switch goes on. Now you see clearly. You don't need knee pads. You can navigate between the people's chairs. You don't need to buy a map from someone about where the bathroom is. You can see where it is. Yeah.